Hi, everybody. This is Benny Biffle.
And this is Sammy Schuster.
And you're listening to TV Confidential.
Confidentially.
Ed Robertson, along with Tony Figueroa, Donna Allen, and our guest, Josh Mills. Josh Mills, curator of the estate of Edie Adams and the estate of Ernie Kovacs. The National Comedy Center will celebrate the life and career of Ernie Kovacs with the Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit, a brand new display of never-before-seen creative papers, rare audio, visual content, and original screen-used artifacts from Ernie's influential television shows and TV specials from the 50s and early 1960s. The Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit will debut in August 2019 during the National Comedy Center's annual Lucille Ball Comedy Festival. Josh is also executive producer of Ernie Kovacs' The Centennial Edition, a newly released DVD configuration featuring 22 hours of the very, very best of Ernie Kovacs. Ernie Kovacs' The Centennial Edition is available now wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Shout Factory. Among the many features included in Ernie Kovacs' The Centennial Edition is Kovacs on Music. Kovacs on Music, the special that originally aired in May 1959 featuring Louis Jourdan, Andre Previn, David Frankham, and James Darren. As we pick up the conversation, before we were recording, we were talking, there's a connection between, I didn't know this until I watched the DVD last week. There's a connection between Big, the movie with Robert Loggia and Tom Hanks, and Kovacs on Music. One of the most famous scenes is where Tom Hanks and Robert Loggia do Dance Heart and Soul on the big piano at H.R.
FAO Schwartz.
FAO Schwartz, yes. I was going to say, almost said H.R. Pufnstuf.
No.
Oh, have you ever gone shopping at H.R. Pufnstuf?
What have you been doing this morning? Yes, I really need to know.
But
Sid and Marty Krofft kind of morning.
There's a bit in Kovacs on Music where the dance troupe, they don't do Heart and Soul, but they're dancing on a outsized piano keys. And so I'm thinking, that's probably where they got that.
Well, the other weird, interesting thing is that, I went to school with Kathy Marshall and Scott Marshall, so Gary Marshall's kids, and I know that they grew up, in New York and being Penny, and so maybe there's the weird connection where maybe she saw it and filed in the back of her head. I don't know, but there was a connection to Gary Marshall, and the other weird Gary Marshall connection is my mom made a TV movie called Evil Roy Slade, and he was a major part of that. It was sort of like a tamer version of Blazing Saddles.
Yes, with John Astin and
He's great.
in title role. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the Marshalls, even in school we had connections. But, so who knows? I don't know how that all...
Well, the point is that he is so pervasive. And this speaks to, his impact and his genius, although I understand he personally did not care for the term genius. I think in the CBC interview, he seemed reluctant. But again, it's kind of cool to hear him say that because he did not take himself seriously in that respect.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's great about that CBC interview is that they say, what are you working on or what are your plans? And he says, I've been talking to Alec Guinness, and Alec Guinness has agreed to play my Eugene character
in a movie
that I'm going to direct. And I'm going to write, because they worked together in Our Man in Havana. And, you'd think that Alec Guinness and Ernie Kovacs, you're mixing oil and water. Well, they got on like a house of fire. Loved each other. Alec Guinness wrote about him in his book, and Ernie went to go visit him in London. So this was going to be potentially the next project that Ernie was going to work on. And I just think to myself, I can't even imagine. It's perfect for Alec Guinness. I mean, silent character that's sort of bumbling his way through life. I mean, it just would be and Ernie with his weird sensibilities, finally getting to direct a film. It just seemed like that's the amazing thing to hear, but also this sort of like, oh, that would have been great if that was actually made.
And not only if that film were actually made, it sounds like at that stage of his life, he was, this is a couple of months before. It aired October 31st, 61, so this is a couple of months before he passed. And it sounds like he wanted to direct more.
Yes.
And
yes.
Not that he was tired of performing, but it's like that's what he wanted to do next.
Well, you want to exercise other artistic muscles.
Yeah.
And frankly, film paid more. I mean, at that time, he wanted to do that stuff because, let's be honest, a lot of people think he never should have left New York. Well, he left New York because there was more money in Hollywood. So his movies didn't do as good as his TV stuff. Of course, the ABC stuff came later, the specials. But his movies, he is a spotty film career.
Yeah.
There are some really good ones, and there's ones he's really good in, like North to Alaska, which aren't amazing movies, but they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I think that he really did get to a point where he thought, like you said, he wanted to try something else, and it was really a situation of, this pays better, and now I can direct, and maybe there was something there.
Josh Mills is with us. Josh Mills, director of the estate of Edie Adams and the estate of Ernie Kovacs, and the executive producer of Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, a newly released DVD configuration featuring 22 hours of the very best of Ernie Kovacs, the man whom Josh's colleague Ben Modell describes as the Buster Keaton of television. Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, is available now wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Shout Factory. We may have talked about this before, but he loved music. He loved different,
yes.
He especially loved classical music. One thing I was not aware of, not only the Dutch Masters commercials, but many of his sketches are set to music in the background. What I didn't know is that they're filming these things with the music playing in real time, and everything is intricately timed.
Yeah.
You just didn't have the equipment to do much else.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to kind of do it. Plus, they were also working. I mean, the way Ernie worked, especially on the specials, not so much. Well, he always went over budget, but on the specials, he went really over budget. Didn't understand below the line, above the line. Well, let's work for 24 hours. Well, you got to pay the crew golden time and triple time and golden triple time.
Yeah.
And the crew ends up driving Cadillacs where all their friends are driving smaller cars, but because Ernie paid, but he didn't understand that. So I think there was really only one way to do it at that point. And technically, that was how he was going to do it. And I think that, frankly, people who didn't have those tools, you had to just make it happen. Now you can fudge it in so many ways. I mean, laugh tracks, and he hated that stuff. I mean, that was just not in any of his sensibilities. So music was super important to him. Crazy record collection. Record labels would send him weird, could be world music, what we know as world music now, African or calypso or whatever it was. Lots of classical. You know, my mom went to Juilliard, so she was very much opera and classical music. She liked a little more of the prettier stuff. Ernie was more of the like Bartok and Wagner and very heavy. Exactly. And she'd take him to the opera, and he was looking at his watch, and what am I doing here? This is very Ernie. He was a man. He was kind of like a man's man. He liked very heavy Hungarian wines, which was called bull's blood. I mean, it was so heavy that it was just like, you know, that was Ernie. But we had silverware, which today seems really gross, but it was basically the hooves of deer. He had all sorts of very Hemingway-esque type of things in the house. Suits of armor. He just was a very... But the music, I think, there was the only way to do it. That's how he did it.
And the fact that he's doing it on tape, which is harder to cut and edit, that's also amazing.
Yeah. You know, he was on camera on some of his ABC specials at the end, but I think that his point was, maybe I don't have to do all this all the time. Maybe I don't have to be on all the time. The crazy thing about Ernie is he basically worked for 10 years, but he worked his ass off in 10 years. And I think after about year 9, he was like, I can't keep up this pace. And maybe that was the movie thing, but we have things where in the New York in the 50s, he was doing television for an hour and doing radio for 2 hours every day, being on for 3 hours. Day in, day out. He recycled bits because I don't think you can come up with things that fast.
Yeah.
I think he just was getting to a point like, I got to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. He was on television like nonstop for 10 years, and yet he was on in like short bits. A show would go for a year or so, and the network would cancel it, but he would almost immediately find another job.
It was a hustle.
Yeah.
I mean, his agents, this guy Marty Kummer, must have done a great job because he was constantly 4 different networks, including Dumont and daytime and nighttime, and he did The Tonight Show. By the way, we found a bunch of files on The Tonight Show of Ernie stuff that is so cool because it has the budgets, it has the set layout, it has memos and memorandums. It's really cool.
Is this coming in the coffee table book? Or
Well, there's that. It may be showing up where everybody can see it in a venue where other people can see it. We'll see. I can talk about that later. But
all right.
I
think I know where we're going, but we'll wait until you can disclose it.
I did a deep dive recently with someone and found, there were some general things, but there was a couple of moments of like, this is great stuff. So everybody who talks about Ernie not really hosting The Tonight Show, it's like, well, I got the proof. It was his show. Basically, Steve Allen was hired to do The Tonight Show. Then NBC gave him another
a Sunday show.
Yeah.
To compete with Ed Sullivan. Yeah.
And he said, I can't do all this work. And so they gave Ernie 2 of the nights. He did it for about 6 months. So if Ernie did Tuesday, Wednesday, Steve Allen did Monday, Thursday, Friday. But it was purely Ernie's show. It had his logo. It had all this other stuff.
So he wasn't a guest host.
No, not at all. He was one of the... And it's sort of been written out of history, which is a shame, and I hope to rectify that. But finding these things was a great moment.
It is a shame, because I think also Jack LaScoulie got shortchanged, even though his run of The Tonight Show, I think, was like 2 weeks shorter than Conan O'Brien's.
Right.
But, it was...
The George Lazenby of...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love the analogy, the George
Yeah.
Lazenby of The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
How much is available? I mean, how much exists on kinescopes and stuff like that?
Steve Allen?
Yeah,
Or just...
just from that whole period, I would say the pre-Burbank years.
Yeah.
I'm talking about from 57 to...
The Tonight Shows from New York don't exist.
Johnny's first show doesn't
No,
exist.
they don't exist. They were thrown in the Hudson River.
Steve Allen's first show does exist. And it's him basically fuming because nothing worked. It's him at the piano. But it is amazing how much... I mean, the optimist in me thinks there's got to be somebody that has some kinescopes in their attic or attic. Or their addict.
Yes. Or an addict has it.
Yes.
An addict may have it, yeah.
You hear these stories like Jackie Gleason had old stuff in a closet for decades.
Well, this leads perfectly into the fact that we found recently, and now they've been digitized, there is audio-only air checks that we found, over 100 hours, that are great because a lot of them are the CBS show that he did. It was a television show from like 52 to 54.
Was that Kovacs Unlimited?
Well, there's some Kovacs Unlimited, but there was also the generic The Ernie Kovacs Show title. You just never know what you're going to find. I just saw that the BBC found in some archive in Africa one of the early That Was the Week That Was, or the first of the 1948 show, whatever it was called, the precursor to Monty Python. You never know what you're going to find. It's probably in some archive somewhere. A lot of stuff has been lost, but there's a lot of stuff to be found. I hope it's somebody in a barn has a bunch of kinescopes that we can find.
What was a big surprise that you have found during this process?
Wow. On
Your
video?
Holy Grail. Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing was that we do own 3 Tonight Shows that Ernie had. And we literally called NBC and said, we have these shows, and are they? And they said, they're not in our database. We didn't copyright them, so they're yours.
Wow.
So there's 3 examples of that.
Where did he... I know he did The Tonight Show in New York, and I think Jack Parr did it in Rockefeller Center, but Steve Allen did it at... Was it the Hudson Theater? Do you know where Ernie actually taped the shows? Shot the shows?
Ben Modell, the Kovacs archivist, would be here jumping in with a...
We should have Ben on with you.
Well, you should have him in.
We should do a tag team.
He's an amazing person. I mean, besides the Kovacs stuff, which he's the most knowledgeable person out there about Kovacs, I'm sure. He's a silent film accompanist. He knows more about silent film and plays all over the world. He's great.
One of the cool things,
Ed's jumping up and down. Ladies and gentlemen. He's so excited. He's ready to get it out.
There's a little thing. It's Ernie and Edie golfing. It's a color home movie. Ernie's getting golf good shots, and Edie is playing the ladylike who can barely putt. So it's very funny.
But that was true. She was never golfed.
Well, it's
But yeah,
it's okay. I didn't know that, but it's funny.
Okay.
It works, but it's a beautiful original piece composed by Ben Modell.
Yes. And Ben, it's funny because he's done that on, actually, the Ernie Kovacs record we did, the Percy Dove Tonsils record that came out a few years back.
Percy Dove Tupple speaks.
Yes, exactly. Speak. Ben did the music on that. Ben actually found that audio, which we didn't know existed. It was mismarked as a film canister when it's actually audio. And it was, Ernie did a record for a record label that they got into some sort of spat about, and he refused to turn it over, and they washed their hands of it. My mom got it back. Somebody donated it to like Cedar Sinai, and my mom had to buy it back from Cedar Sinai. But Ben found this, and then he was the one that put the music on because they didn't actually get to the part where they actually added the music. So he's that guy.
Mm-hmm. He's that guy, and Josh Mills is the guy. He is in charge of the Ernie Kovacs estate and the Edie Adams Estate. He's also the executive producer of Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, 22 hours of the very, very best of Ernie Kovacs, spread out over 9 DVDs covering all aspects of Ernie's career from the early 1950s up until the very end. January 1962, Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, available through our friends at Shout Factory, wherever DVDs are sold. Also available through Shout Factory are the Ernie Kovacs lithographs, a limited edition set of original sketches done by Ernie for one of his shows. There's like 10 or 12,
yeah.
Yeah, they're available framed or unframed. To find out how to do that, go to shoutfactory.com. This is sort of a poignant discovery. I'd watched Medicine Man. I'd seen it before a couple of years ago. I revisited it again. What I didn't know, and this is on one of the panels, I forget who said this, but I think this was on the American Cinematheque thing. He did a pilot for Screen Gems called Medicine Man, where he plays a fast-talking huckster in the Midwest, and Buster Keaton is Tonto. Buster Keaton doesn't speak, but apparently they shot it in 3 days, and the last day, after finishing production on the last day of filming, that was the night when he died.
Yeah.
When he was killed in the accident.
Yeah. He'd also been working pretty intensely up to that point. Plus, he was an insomniac. I mean, 3-4 hours a night. I'll just take a steam bath. I mean, that was sort of his, ate a steak and a martini and a steam bath, and I'll be ready to go. And, it was a party at Billy Wilder's house for Milton Berle, who just adopted his son, and that's where he...
Yeah, I think Edie drove the Cadillac, and he had like a smaller car, which was not as easy to drive. He told Edie to take the bigger car home.
Yeah,
and it
was raining.
Yeah, and it was small, and
you said it was raining.
Yeah, that was the rumor's always that he was trying to light a cigar at the time of the accident. Who knows if that was sort of a Ouija placed image that people saw, but yeah, I mean, it was a single car accident. I mean, the Corvair was not a great car. Ralph Nader proved that. It's, unsafe at any speed, so
unfortunately,
I guess, I don't know. Yeah.
I would also imagine then, as is now, we could go 10 months with no rain.
Oh yeah,
the road conditions.
Yeah,
the first 20 minutes after the rain can be very perilous.
Yes.
I mean, it's something
oil on the road.
Oil, other fluids, they kind of get reactivated.
Street becomes like ice.
Yeah, and it can be very. And it's something when people relocate from the East Coast or the Midwest, and they go, you people in L.A. don't know how to drive, or don't know how to drive in the rain. It's like, because it's a very...
It's not something we have to deal with a lot, right?
Yeah. We don't have a lot of practice at it, and like I said, in the beginning, when it first rains for a little bit, the roads are very, very treacherous.
Yeah.
It is a big challenge. You don't talk about it outside of people who are L.A. motorists.
Yes.
But
That was surprising to me when I first moved here.
Josh Mills is with us. Josh Mills, director of the estate of Edie Adams and the estate of Ernie Kovacs, and the executive producer of Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, a newly released DVD configuration featuring 22 hours of the very best of Ernie Kovacs, the Buster Keaton of television. Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, is available now wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Shout Factory. Before we forget, I want to ask you about Eugene, because we talked about Eugene a little while ago, but one of the cool things in the Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition collection, is there's a color version of Eugene. I'd never seen it before. Didn't he do it once for one of the ABC specials as well, or did he only do it for NBC?
I don't think he did Eugene for ABC, but that was actually, when you talk about a discovery, it was great to find. You never see Ernie in color. I mean, unless you're watching a movie, you just don't see him in color. The crazy thing about just the Eugene character in general, the reason that all came about was that the network, I believe it was NBC, wanted Jerry Lewis. This is just after
he
Dean
just
Martin,
broke up with Dean, right?
He and Dean broke up, and Jerry was going to be the biggest star ever. So the Van Halen split, that's my weird, who's going to be the big one?
Yeah.
And everybody thought it was going to be David Lee Rothwell, actually, So the issue was that they wanted to give Jerry 90 minutes, special. Do whatever you want. It's going to be the biggest television extravaganza of the year. And Jerry Lewis said, I'll do 60 minutes. I don't want to do 90. So the network had to find somebody to do the back end of 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And so everybody turned it down because they were like, no one's going to watch me if they're watching Jerry Lewis. Ernie said, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it how I want to do it. No interference from you guys. NBC said, great, fine, whatever. It airs. And Jerry Lewis's show was very mediocre, not well received, and everybody was watched Ernie, and Ernie's was completely inventive. It was silent. I mean, there's sound, there's just no speaking. And everybody the next day was like, who is this Ernie Kovacs guy? And that's how he got on the cover of Life magazine, and that's sort of what propelled him to a bigger career than he had at the time.
Where did you find the color version?
Well, it was in our archive, but when I say our archive, if you're talking an archive that spans from the 1950s and 60s all the way through the early 2000s, let's say, there are so many tapes that you eventually formats change. There's D1s and D2s. I mean, I'm getting into talk about inside baseball. This is
I know about 4-inch quad tapes.
okay.
So.
Okay, all right. So I think we have over 150 half hours, but we had 1,000 elements.
Yeah.
So at some point, it just got lost, or it was in there, but it was misidentified. I mean, the Ben Modell one for the Percy Speaks,
yes.
was mislabeled. Everybody thought it was a video, but it wasn't. It was audio. So things like that have a way of, we're not Disney. We don't have tons of money to throw at a problem and make it all right. And that's kind of the nice thing, is that you can come across these little weird little elements where you're like, I didn't know that existed. So I look at it that way.
Josh Mills is with us as we continue to celebrate the centennial anniversary of the birth of Ernie Kovacs, television's original genius. We'll take a quick time out, and we'll be back with more with Josh here on TV Confidential. Got a product or service that you want our listeners to know about? Become an advertiser or underwriter of TV Confidential and let our brand help promote your brand. For more information, go to televisionconfidential.com/advertise or visit the TV Confidential page at advertisecast.com.
Uber is the mobile app that connects you with a driver for immediate transportation. Request a ride at the tap of a button and you have a driver curbside in minutes. You can choose to be driven in a black car, SUV, or you can choose UberX, the low-cost Uber, for a ride in a hybrid or mid-range car. Payment is seamless and cashless. Billed to your card on file with no need to tip. Enter the promo code TV Confidential after you download the app to receive a free first ride up to $20. For more information, go to get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential.
Ham Cam Caricatures will keep the fun rolling at your next party, convention, or event through a live video feed. As friends or colleagues gather around the webcam, I can see them on my screen, and they can view my caricatures come to life on their own screen. The completed black and white drawing will then be emailed to you to print out. Pricing and details are at hamcamcaricatures.com. That's HAMCAMCARICATURES.com.
Buying or selling a home can be one of the most stressful things we'll ever do in life. But it doesn't have to be. And no one knows better than our friends at Front Porch Realty Group. They're a community of realtors serving the Northern Bay Area of California that cares about their clients as individuals first and foremost. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking to lease or sell your property in the Bay Area, Front Porch Realty Group will help you through this important transition by providing you with the right information for your situation while lessening the pain. They also work with a network of realtors throughout California who provide the same high caliber of customer service. Call Front Porch Realty Group at 415-886-7411 for a realtor referral near you. You can also visit their website, frontporchrealtygroup.com, for more information on the services they provide, including upcoming workshops and seminars. For more information, call 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com. Front Porch Realty Group. They'll find the solution that works best for you.
Alexa users, you can now listen to TV Confidential on your smart speaker just by saying, Alexa, play TV Confidential. Enabling the TV Confidential Alexa skill is easy. To find out how to do it, go to televisionconfidential.com/Alexa.
Hi, this is Marilyn Michaels, and you are listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson with a reminder that Robert Hooks will join us at the top of the hour. We hope you'll stay tuned for that. In the meantime, Tony Figueroa and Donna Allen are with us as we continue our conversation with Josh Mills about the life and legacy of Ernie Kovacs, television's original genius. Josh Mills is the director of the estates of Edie Adams and Ernie Kovacs. He is also executive producer of Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, a newly released DVD configuration that features 22 hours of the very best of Ernie Kovacs spread out across 9 DVDs, including episodes from his NBC primetime show, his 5 ABC TV specials, the rarely seen color version of his legendary silent show, Eugene, plus the only existing filmed solo interview with Ernie Kovacs himself, which originally aired on Canadian television less than 3 months before Ernie's death in January 1962. Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, is available now wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Shout Factory. The National Comedy Center will celebrate the life and career of Ernie Kovacs with the Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit, a new display of never-before-seen creative papers, rare audio-visual content, and original screen-used artifacts from Ernie's influential television shows and television specials. The Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit will debut in August 2019 as part of the National Comedy Center's annual Lucille Ball Comedy Festival. For more information on Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit, go to nationalcomedycenter.org. When you put together a compilation such as Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, you can't include everything.
Right.
So how do you know what to choose? And are some things harder to say no to than others?
Well, credit to Ben Modell again. He really watched the lion's share of all this. And some of it you can just tell, like, it's a good episode, we need to include it. Some of it is like, there's good 5 minutes here, but we don't really need to watch the next 25. You kind of have to make sure that you have the right characters. Mm-hmm. You got to have enough of Nairobi Trio or Eugene, or you got to throw certain things in. But, you know, the revelation for us was also that we didn't know we had like 49 out of the 53 Take a Good Looks. And so those ended up being on its own separate package because we had, I mean, that's 4 discs right there. So it was a lot of fun to do those deep dives. But Ben was really the one that was kind of playing the editor. And we really trusted him, even Shout Factory, of saying, like, this is good, don't do that. Which, frankly, we could put out another box set, and it could be probably another 5 or 6 discs. It just wouldn't be the best. Yeah. So we decided...
If you're going to say the best of, you should have the best
this
of.
Is really legitimately the best of the best of. We're whittling it down.
And this includes the commercials he did and the...
Yeah, and what's so funny is that it's about cigars, which we don't advertise, right? Well, it's funny because when we put the set out originally, the first set, iTunes had no problem. But when we did my mom's box set about cigars... Oh, she's smoking in those. There's smoking. We can't put those on iTunes. You have to edit those out. So I don't know if something changed between 2011 and 2014, but it does include everything. So the great thing about the DVDs is this is the only place you're ever going to see the commercials for Ernie, for sure.
There's, I forget which era, this must be towards the end of the era, but there's, every disc in the 9 DVD 22-hour collection has a bunch of extra features unto itself. And I forget which disc, but there is an Edie. All the bonus features are Edie-centric. Yeah. There's like a 10-minute best of Muriel commercials. And again, we mentioned some of them are in black and white, some of them are in color. Some of them are shot like at the beach.
Oh, yeah.
All these big production numbers. It's really cool.
Yeah, I used to make fun of my mom all the time because it was very sort of jazzy and do very 60s kind of. And the funny thing was, she was like, well, if you look at me, I'm wearing this dress because I'm pregnant. Like, I can't, we shot at the beach, but, like, I can't wear a bikini. I can't wear this thing. It was very, she used to say, a cloudy middle. So I got the inside baseball from my mom, right from the source's mouth. Yeah, the horse's mouth.
Let's see. When you were last on, you're mentioning that one of the things that might be in the works is releasing Volume 2 of Edie's memoirs. Is that?
Yeah. Again, in a lot of these deep dives, my mom wrote a book that came out in 1990 called Sing a Pretty Song. It ends right when Ernie dies. Yeah. And my mom lived a whole other life. I didn't even know Ernie. I mean, it's probably 62 to the rest of her life, 2008. She wrote all this other stuff. But the problem, my mom was quite a talker and voracious reader, and there are just pages and pages and pages and pages. I mean, 1,000. So to whittle it down into a comprehensive sort of thing is going to take a little time. But that's one of the things I want to do, because she married my father in 1964. She had another marriage in 1972. Her career post Ernie, where she did a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, she did Mad World. Yeah. She did the Here's Edie show.
Yeah.
And all sorts of stuff.
And she did a ton of theater, not Broadway, but she did a lot of regional theater. It's how she made her career, in the 70s and 80s. So there's a lot of stuff to it, and kind of a huge cultural shift from about 62 to 2008. So there's more issues of drugs, or not her personally, but people around her. So a lot of big things changed, and stepchildren and half-children. So there's a lot. So I would love to put that out, yeah.
I would love to see it, having read part one. She does leave you wanting more.
Yeah,
so, have you seen the Harry O she did with David Jansen?
I did, actually. I did. It's a trip. The great thing about... I have a 9-year-old daughter, and the great thing about my mom is that I could go on Amazon and I'm like, oh, there's that Macmillan and Wife she's on, or there's that policewoman she's on, or there's Harry O, and I could show my daughter, this is what your grandmother looked like when she was 40 or whatever, and it's fantastic. I love it.
It's not a big role, but she has a couple of good extended scenes with Jansen. She plays the landlady of the apartment building he's investigating on this particular case. And they have good chemistry together.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of fun to watch it.
It's a trip, because there was a point in the 70s where, I was on the set of Love Boat with her when she did a two-parter where she's married to Avery Shriver, and, it was
yeah.
I was such a geek for the Love Boat.
And
then.
John Astin was in that one.
Yes, he was.
Yes,
exactly.
I remember
it's
that
all
one.
Full
and,
circle.
Bring us back to Roy.
And Barbie Benton, but Barbie Benton. If you say the Love Boat with Barbie Benton in it, that's like saying the one with Charo.
Yeah. My 9-year-old self got a photo my mom got me from Barbie Benton saying, "Dear Josh, I want you. Love, Barbie." Excuse me.
Oh my.
Pardon me. Anyway, I remember being on the set of The Love Boat while they're filming, and there's a lot of downtime, and there was a guy who was an extra on the show who played backgammon, and he was like, "You want to learn how to play backgammon?" I was like, "Sure." So he sat down and taught me how to play backgammon on the set of The Love Boat, and I keep thinking, that wasn't really normal, was it? I mean, not everybody had that experience, but to me it was very, of course, sure. I mean, just a guy at a job, and sure.
I remember seeing that episode on TV Land, I think, within the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it still shows,
I vividly remember they're filming the scene where Audra Lindley, who has to leave John Astin on the island of this Love Boat. If you're a Love Boat fan, you remember, but otherwise you're going to be like, what?
Jim Colucci's probably going to cover it in his book on the Love Boat.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. I want to read about it. Well, here's an anecdote. I vividly remember watching Lauren Tweez hugging Gavin MacLeod behind the camera and crying because the love scene was so strong between John Astin and Audra Lindley. And I thought, wow, I don't know, have we passed the point of no return here?
An airing spelling show that can move you.
Yes, exactly. I vividly remember it.
Josh Mills is with us as we continue to celebrate the centennial anniversary of the birth of Ernie Kovacs.
So another thing, deep diving again, I realized that Ernie wrote a lot of magazine articles that no one's ever seen. Or if you did, you saw it in 1954, you saw it in 1957. And a lot of it is public domain stuff, magazines that don't exist, some men's magazines, those type of things. And I got the idea that we should get those articles, combine them with a chapter from my mom's book, a chapter from Ernie's book, a few other things. I found a chapter of a book that he was writing when he died called Mildred Szabo. No one's ever seen it. We're going to put that in there. It's a coffee table book called the Ernie Kovacs Scrapbook, of all this memorabilia that I have in the house. So all these pieces put together with a lot of his stuff is just like, I think fans are going to get really excited about, especially stuff that's never been seen. So really exciting.
And hopefully the Ernie Kovacs scrapbook will come out sometime in 2019?
It will. We're looking at the end of the year.
Okay.
And the other crazy thing is I just found, I had read about it and heard about it. He wrote another book, which we found, that my mom had bound in leather, called Please Excuse the Pencil. It's about writing and how to write. But it's funny. It's literally like, you need a pencil, and you need a piece of paper.
And you could draw squares and circles and triangles.
So, it all comes.
A bit of Ernie memorabilia, and I don't know if it still exists.
Yeah.
Because it was something I would love to have. I had always heard the story that he had a sign that would light up on his office that said, "Not now."
Yes.
Which there have been many times I've wanted to have. That same sign, does that exist anywhere?
I have never seen it. It was spoken that my mom says it was true. We had a maid who was not allowed to even go in with sandwiches at the time when Ernie was gambling. It was basically above the door. The house we used to have where Ernie lived and I grew up in, it had a main house, and then sort of on the way to the driveway there was a connecting piece to his office, which was the stuff of legend. And he would have like 24-hour card games where people weren't leaving, and they would have sandwiches delivered when they wanted them, but not when they didn't. So you'd have, directors, producers, but you also, there's a great photo of one where it's like Ernie at his table with Tony Curtis and Milton Berle, and he would just have anybody that wanted to play a card game ready to go. And that was the sign, not now. If they were playing cards, don't come in.
So not now, that would be the sign on the door of his study, right?
Of his office, yes.
Okay. Well, one of the cool things, I don't know if you guys have seen this, one of the extra features, you've got a collection of all the wraparounds he did for Silence Please.
Yes.
This is a short
Yes.
run summer series he did for ABC, either 60 or 61. One year they didn't have a host. The second year they asked Ernie to do the host, and it was the summer replacement for his own show, Take a Good Look. Mm-hmm. And all of the wraparounds are filmed inside Ernie's study.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes, it's very, very cool. It's one of the many, 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 many treasures that are part of Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition. Anything else that you're at liberty to tease?
Well, we are talking to a record label about reissuing a record that came out in 1977, maybe 76 maybe. It's called the Ernie Kovacs album, and it was audio, which is great because we now found more audio, so we can actually release it with bonus tracks. So that is another thing in the works. And we've got a few other things, a documentary hopefully that we could work on, and a few other things that we're trying to get going. But I have a ton of events that I've planned throughout the year that are coming to fruition, from Canada to England to New York, Chicago. So we're going to announce them as soon as we can announce them. But I've been spending the last year trying to set all this stuff up. So bringing Ernie to you.
Well, it is always fun to have you visit us, Josh Mills, and
super nice of you guys.
Please come back later in the year. We'll talk some more.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you very much. He also had a great sign, by the way, that said, instead of applause, it said applesauce. So it would light up and people would, what? Like, what am I supposed to do? I guess I'm supposed to clap.
That's a good way to end this one.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
One of the events announced after we recorded this segment with Josh Mills is the launch of the Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit at the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. The Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit will include never-before-revealed creative papers of Ernie Kovacs, plus rare audiovisual content and original screen-used artifacts from Ernie's influential television shows and iconic TV specials from the 50s and early 1960s. The Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit will debut in August 2019 during the National Comedy Center's annual Lucille Ball Comedy Festival. For more information on the Ernie Kovacs Centennial exhibit, go to nationalcomedycenter.org, nationalcomedycenter.org. Ernie Kovacs, the Centennial Edition, 22 hours of the very, very best of Ernie Kovacs, is available now wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Shout Factory. Robert Hooks will join us when we come back for hour number 2 of TV Confidential. Stay with us.
If you haven't been listening to TV Confidential, this is who you're missing.
Michelle Nichols, Adrienne Barbeau,
Leonard Maltin,
Joyce Bullisan,
Peter Onorati,
Judy Norton,
Ken Berry,
Rhonda Shear, Michelle Lee, Jacqueline Smith,
Lou Antonio,
Shirley Jones,
and many, many more of your favorite celebrities and people behind the scenes in the world of television. That's TV Confidential, every week on this station
and every day online at televisionconfidential.com.
Accredited by Guinness World Records, welcome to Archival Television Audio Incorporated, a peerless TV soundtrack archive, preserving the audio from television's first 3 decades, the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the golden and silver age of television.
For more information, go to atvaudio.com.
Want a free first ride with Uber? Uber, the mobile app that connects you with a ride at the touch of a button in minutes. Enter promo code TV Confidential after you download the app to receive your first free ride up to $20. For more information, go to get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential.
Got a product or service that you want our listeners to know about? Become an advertiser or underwriter of TV Confidential and let our brand help promote your brand. For more information, go to televisionconfidential.com/advertise or visit the TV Confidential page at advertisecast.com.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty Group, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.